So you're scrolling through your feed on your phone, okay, and you see a headline that sounds too good to be true. Maybe it's a politician making a promise, or maybe it's a company claiming their product will change your life, or perhaps it's some expert telling you, hey, they've got the answer to a problem you've been struggling with for years. And before you even click on it, before you read a single word of the actual content, a voice in your head pops up and says, yeah, right, they're all full of it. I'm not falling for that. Feels smart, doesn't it? Feels like you figured out the game, like you're one of the few people who sees through the noise while everyone else gets played. But here's the thing I want you to sit with today, my friend. See, that instant dismissal, that knee-jerk, I don't buy it stuff, it might feel like critical thinking, but it's actually the opposite. See, there's a crucial difference between being skeptical and being cynical. And most people, well, they have no idea which one they're actually doing. So if you can't tell the difference, your mind isn't as clear as you think it is. Let me show you what I mean. Hi, I'm Alan Stafford, and for 30 years, I used the tools of persuasion to sell and to market to consumers. I know how the game is played, well, because I played it. But now I'm the referee calling the fouls. And today, well, I'm not calling a foul on a pundit or a politician or some talking head trying to hijack your emotions. Today, I'm calling a foul that you might be committing on yourself. Here's the trap we've all walked into, okay? We live in an age of manipulation, misinformation, media games, algorithms designed to keep us angry and engaged, pundits who get paid by the outrage. And in response, well, a lot of us have developed what feels like a healthy defense mechanism. We stopped trusting, we stopped believing, we started assuming the worst about everything and everyone. And honestly, that felt protective, right? It felt smart. But somewhere along the way, a lot of us crossed the line without even realizing it. We went from asking good questions to assuming bad answers. We went from, let me verify that, to, hey, they're all liars anyway, so why bother? We went from healthy doubt to blanket dismissal. Hey, folks, that's not critical thinking. That is intellectual surrender dressed up as sophistication. So today, what we're going to do is draw a clear line between skepticism, which is a genuine strength, and cynicism, which is actually a cage. And I'm going to show you why cynicism feels so smart but makes you, well, dumber, okay? And why it feels protective but actually makes you easier to manipulate. And I'm going to give you a simple 3-question test you can basically run on yourself to know which one you're actually practicing. So if you're ready, let's get into it. All right, so let's start by defining these two things clearly because most people use them interchangeably and they are not the same. So a skeptic says, I don't know yet. Show me the evidence. See, skepticism is active. It asks questions. It demands proof. It looks at claims and says, okay, that's interesting. Now convince me. But here's the crucial part most people miss. A skeptic is willing to be convinced. They have standards. They have criteria, but they don't have predetermined conclusions. So if the evidence meets their standards, they update their belief. So think of a skeptic like, let's say, a security guard at a building. They check your ID, they verify you belong there, they ask questions, they do their due diligence. But once you prove you're legit, they let you in. See, the door is guarded, but it's not welded shut, okay? Now let's talk about the other one. See, a cynic says, I already know the answer. Everyone's lying, everything's corrupt, nothing is what it seems. So why even bother looking? See, cynicism is passive. It's already decided. It doesn't ask questions because it thinks it already has the answer. And the answer is always the same. Don't trust anything, don't believe anyone, assume the worst, and you'll never be disappointed. So let's use our same security guard analogy on this one. See, a cynic isn't checking IDs here. They're basically just welded the door shut and called it security. Nothing gets in, not threats, not truth, not opportunities, nothing. Here's the line I want you to remember about that. Skepticism is a process. It's a method of evaluation. And cynicism, that is a position. It's a conclusion you've already reached. One keeps your mind working, well, the other one shuts it down and calls that wisdom. Now, here's the part nobody talks about. You see, if cynicism is so limiting, if it shuts down your thinking, why does it feel so good? Why do so many smart people fall into this? Well, I'm glad you asked that. Because cynicism is seductive, and it's seductive for very specific reasons. And we'll go with reason one. It's efficient. See, evaluating evidence takes, well, mental energy. You have to read. You have to research. You have to hold multiple possibilities in your head and weigh them against each other. And that's exhausting, people. But dismissing everything, hey, that takes almost no effort. Your brain loves shortcuts, and cynicism is the ultimate cognitive shortcut. I don't need to evaluate this. I already know everyone's lying. See, done. No effort required. Now, reason two, it feels sophisticated. When you distrust everything, you get to feel like, well, you're above it all. Like you've figured out what the naive masses haven't yet. There's an ego hit there, and with that ego hit, you get a little dopamine reward. Look at all these sheep believing things, not me. I know better. That feels good, right? It feels like intelligence, but it's actually just ignorance wearing a thinking cap. Reason three, well, it protects you from disappointment. So if you never believe anything, you can never be wrong. You can never be fooled. You can never feel stupid for trusting something that turned out to be false. See, cynicism is emotional armor. It's a way of never getting hurt by being wrong. And reason four, it's socially rewarded. You see, in certain circles, the most cynical person in the room gets treated as the smartest person in the room. See, we've confused pessimism with perceptiveness, and we've confused dismissiveness with discernment. So the person who says, that'll never work, sounds wiser than the person who says, hey, let's find out. So yeah, cynicism feels smart, but here's what it actually costs you. See, cynicism makes you easier to manipulate. I know. You're going to make a comment here because it sounds backwards, but bear with me. See, the cynic thinks they're the one who can't be fooled. But think about what cynicism actually does to your mind. A cynic has stopped evaluating specific claims. They've replaced, is this particular thing true, with nothing is true, so why look? Which means two things happen, okay? One, when something is true, something important, something that can help you, they miss it because, well, they've already decided not to engage, okay? And two, when something is false but confirms their cynicism, they accept it without question. Tell a cynic that some institution is corrupt, they don't need evidence, they already believed it. Tell them that some positive development happened, they'll demand proof that they'll never actually examine. See, cynics think they can't be fooled, but they're actually the easiest marks for anyone selling hopelessness, division, or apathy, because those salesmen, they don't need the cynic to believe anything. They just need them to not believe anything else. And cynics, well, they've already done that work for free. So what does healthy skepticism actually look like? What does the skeptic do that the cynic doesn't? See, a genuine skeptic does the harder work, the heavy lifting. They don't dismiss, they investigate. They ask, what's the source? Not all sources are biased. That's cynicism. But what is this source? And what's their track record? Or what's the evidence? Not evidence can be faked. Again, that's cynicism. But what specific evidence is being presented here and how strong is it? Or what would change my mind? I mean, this is the big one, folks. A skeptic always knows what evidence would shift their view. A cynic, well, they can't answer this question because nothing would change their mind. They have already decided. Or who benefits if I believe this? And that's a good question. You see, skeptics ask it, so do cynics. But the skeptic asks one more question, and that is, who benefits if I dismiss this? See, that's the question cynics never ask. They're so focused on not being fooled by belief that they never consider they might be fooled by disbelief. So let me give you an example here. Say you see a headline about a new study showing some health intervention works, okay? The cynic says something like, Big Pharma probably funded it. I don't trust any of them anyway. So next, done. No evaluation, no engagement, just dismissal. Now the skeptic comes along and they say, interesting. Let me check who funded the study. Let me see if it's been replicated. Let me look at the sample size and methodology, and then I'll decide what I think. You see the difference here? The cynic felt smart for 30 seconds and learned nothing, and the skeptic did the work and actually knows something. And then there's one more thing the skeptic does that the cynic can't. They admit when they're wrong. See, the skeptic, they update their beliefs when evidence changes. Some people think changing your mind makes you look, well, weak. It doesn't. It means your mind is actually working. A cynic never has to update anything. Their position is unfalsifiable. Everyone's line can never be disproven because any evidence against it is just more lies. They call that consistency. Hey, folks, it's actually paralysis. All right, folks, let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain, because there's a reason cynicism is a default for so many people. So you've got a built-in threat detection system. It's called the amygdala, and its job is to keep you safe. So when you encounter information that could be a threat, something that might hurt you, fool you, cost you, your amygdala fires first. It's fast, it's emotional, and it defaults to better safe than sorry. That's your system one thinking. That's autopilot thinking. And it kept your ancestors alive when, let's say, a rustling bush might have been a predator. But here's the problem. See, in the modern information environment, everything feels like a potential threat. Every headline, every claim, every notification, every person trying to get your attention and possibly take advantage of you. So your amygdala is on constant alert. And cynicism is what happens when your threat detection system gets stuck in the on position. It's not thoughtful distrust, it's chronic defensive mode. Your brain is essentially saying, I can't evaluate all these threats, so I'm just gonna treat everything as a threat. Well, that feels safe, but it's actually your higher thinking going offline. Now, skepticism, on the other hand, requires your prefrontal cortex to stay engaged. And that's system two thinking. It's deliberate thinking. It's slower, it takes more energy, but it's the only part of your brain that can actually evaluate whether something is true or false. So when you practice skepticism, you're basically training your brain to pause before the amygdala takes over. When you default to cynicism, well, you'll let the amygdala win permanently. And a brain run by the amygdala isn't a sharp brain, people. It's a scared brain pretending to be a smart brain. Okay, so let's make this practical. Here's a simple test you can run anytime you notice yourself dismissing something. 3 questions, okay? Takes about 10 seconds. Question 1, am I rejecting this because of evidence or because of expectation? See, did I actually evaluate this specific claim, or did I just assume it's false because, well, that's how things always are? See, if you can't point to a specific reason, or if you can't point to specific reasons you're dismissing something, well, you're not being skeptical, you're being reflexive. And question 2, what would it take to change my mind? And this is the litmus test, people. If you can't answer this question, if there's literally no evidence that would make you reconsider, you're not being skeptical, you're being closed. See, a skeptic always knows what would shift their view. Show me a replicated study, for example. Show me primary sources. Show me a track record. A cynic has no answer because they've already decided. And question 3, am I protecting my ego or pursuing the truth? Be honest with yourself here, okay? Be real honest. Cynicism often comes from not wanting to look naive, not wanting to be the person who got fooled. But here's the thing. The most sophisticated thinkers in history were willing to be surprised. They were willing to say, I was wrong. They were willing to look foolish in pursuit of understanding. And that takes more courage than never believing anything. So run this check on yourself, especially when dismissing something that feels really satisfying. See, that satisfaction, that little hit of I'm too smart for this, that's often a sign that your ego, not your intellect, is driving the car. All right, so here's your homework this week, okay? And yes, you have homework. I want you to pick one thing you've dismissed without really examining it, okay? Maybe it's a claim you saw online and scrolled past, or maybe it's something someone told you that you wrote off. Maybe it's an opportunity you rejected because it probably won't work out anyway. So whatever it is, instead of leaving it dismissed, actually investigate it. Look up the source, check the evidence, ask the questions a skeptic would ask. See, you might find out you were right to dismiss it, and that's great. See, now you know for sure. That's not cynicism, folks. That's verified skepticism. Or you might find out you were wrong, and that's even better because that means your mind is still open. That means you're still capable of learning. That means you're still capable of being surprised by reality. Hey, that's what thinking sharper actually looks like. It's not the person who's never fooled because they never engage, but the person who engages carefully, evaluates honestly, and updates willingly. See, one of those people gets smarter over time. The other, well, they just get more certain of the same limited beliefs. And my question to you is, which one do you want to be? All right, so if you want to go deeper on building a genuine skeptic's mindset, I've put together a free resource called the Clear Mind Checklist. What it does is it walks you through evaluating any claim you encounter, whether it's in the news, on social media, or coming from someone in your life trying to convince you of something. I have the link in the description below. And if the video helped you draw the line between skepticism and cynicism, hit subscribe and turn on notifications because, folks, every week we're building the toolkit to help you think sharper in a world, well, that's designed to make you think faster. I'm Alan Stafford. Stay skeptical, my friend, never cynical, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.